of the Planning and Zoning Commission of the City of Nacogdoches. Please stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. So number 3 on our agenda tonight was to administer a statement of officer and oath of office for the newly appointed Planning and Zoning Commission members, who are Lily Fu, Miss Ruth Carroll, and Mr. Shannon Conklin. We already did that, so we're skipping that item. And we're moving on to number 4. This is an open forum. Now, in addition to public comment on agenda items, the commission offers an open forum where citizens may comment on governance issues over which the City of Nacogdoches has domain. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, members of the commission shall not discuss, deliberate, or make any decisions on topics not posted as an agenda item. Speakers should address all the remarks to the commission and limit remarks to no more than 3 minutes. And again, these are just open forum comments. We'll have a time for specific comments on agenda items later. So if there's any open forum comments, please come up to the microphone.
May I ask a question?
You may.
Am I loud enough?
Yes.
Would you come up to the microphone and state your name?
This is not ours? Never mind.
Okay.
Let me know when it's.
Seeing no comments for the open forum, we will close that and move on to number 5, the consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the commission and will be enacted in one motion. These items include final plats where staff has found compliance with all minimum subdivision regulations. All items approved by consent are approved with any and all staff recommendations. Since there will not be separate discussion of these items, citizens wishing to address the commission regarding one or more items on the consent agenda may address the commission at this time as well. If any commissioner desires to discuss an item on the consent agenda, it may be moved to the regular agenda for further consideration. And the first item on the, and only item on the consent agenda is approval of our minutes from the May 10th, 2021 meeting. So again, open forum if anyone has any comments on the minutes.
So I make a motion to approve the minutes.
A second.
Okay. Any discussion on the minutes? Anything that needs to be changed? No. All right. Take a vote then. All those in favor of the minutes say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, same sign. All right, they approve unanimously. Moving on to number 6 in the regular agenda, appointment of a chair and vice chair.
So at this point, the chair will accept nominations for chair and vice chair.
I nominate Ken to be chair and Don Mills actually to be vice chair.
I second.
Any discussion of that? I think Mr. Mills should be the chair.
She already recommended you as chair.
You're not getting away from this one.
All right, we'll take a vote on that. All those in favor of those appointments, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, because that carries. So we have a new chair and vice chair.
Apologies.
That's all right. Item B on the regular agenda, consideration, discussion, and possible action on items removed from the consent agenda by commission action. There were no items removed. So moving on to C, I guess it's the reason everyone's here. Public hearing, considering a zone change from R4 multifamily to M medical for Lot 12A, City Block 40, located at 813 North Mound Street. This request has been submitted by Robin Miller of Hetty Legg and Associates LLC in its case file ZON 2021-05.
Thank you, Lena Chafin, City Planner. We did place a document at your place before you arrived. We have been in communication with the applicant, considering some concerns that we've received from residents in the area regarding the zone change request. Specifically, some of the more intense land uses that are permitted under the MD Medical District, other than just strictly medical office. And then some of those nuisance preventive measures that you would typically see with a commercial development. And so after discussion with the applicant, they have formally withdrawn their zone change request from R4 multifamily to MD Medical. And at your place is the written formal withdrawal letter. The applicant does intend to submit a plan development application and still pursue a medical district on this property, but something that would be more restrictive, something that would really tie down the land uses to only medical office and address some of those concerns that we've heard from residents and work with the neighborhood to make sure that the development is characteristic of some of the other property and doesn't adversely impact those adjacent property owners. The applicant is in attendance if the commission has any questions of them. As we have advertised for this item, so we will go ahead and conduct the public hearing and allow for public comment. But the applicant does wish for the Planning and Zoning Commission to accept their withdrawal and come back later with a plan development application. So at this time, I'll ask the applicant if they'd like to address the commission.
You have to have
Do you clarity from Elena?
But, so they would not like to address the commission, but they are available for questions.
Okay.
Does the commission have any questions of staff at this time?
Just a quick question, just to confirm, they withdrew this afternoon, correct?
Correct. All right. And I guess if the commission doesn't have any questions of the applicant, we can open it up.
Any
for the-
questions from anyone on the commission of the applicant? No?
I do not have any questions.
Okay. Well, this item is still on the regular agenda, so it's still a public hearing, and it's open for public hearing. If anyone has any comments about the application, even though it's been withdrawn, you're free to come up to the microphone, announce your name, and share those comments.
All right.
I just have a question. You could clarify for me.
Could you state your name first?
I'm
sorry.
Debbie Dalton.
I know what it is.
I thank you, Ken. I'm Debbie Dalton. I just bought a house at 740 North Mound. It's the
Okay.
corner of Mound and Houston. I mean, just bought it. And so this is half a block away from me. But my question is, I looked on the website, and let me tell you, it is not easy looking, to just find out what R4 was, what medical was, et cetera. And from what I saw very quickly, R4 has so many different classifications under, and M medical was one of them. So what's the difference in, if R4 encompasses all of that? Is it R4 multifamily? Is it R4 medical? R4 something else? Is R4 just kind of the category, and then you add what it's for?
Well, I can address that, actually.
Thank you.
So R4 and medical are separate, but the matrix that's on there is a little hard to read, and then as you scroll down, the header disappears 5 pages above, and
Yeah.
so it's,
Especially
you have
when
to
you're using
scroll
a
back
mini
up to see
iPad.
what you're looking at. So, yeah, it's kind of confusing. So the R4 has a lot of uses, but they're all distinct to R4, and they're separate from the medical use.
So
And
what's distinctive to R4?
Well, I don't have the
Okay, well,
list in
it
front
was,
of me.
it was
but-
multifamily.
But Elena
family.
could,
She
Elena,
knows everything, okay.
Elena
yes,
can
Elena
answer.
could pull it up for us. Yeah,
Okay, may I sit down?
Yeah, that's fine.
That's it.
yeah. Thank you for bringing that question.
Thank you. So you are correct. So R4 multifamily is a zoning district that's intended for high-density residential uses. And it also includes single-family, duplex, and multifamily, which multifamily is described as a structure with 3 or more dwelling units. It also allows for auxiliary or supplementary uses that would traditionally support residential development, like a golf range, country club, some of those amenities that might support a residential development. MD Medical is a commercial zoning district. It allows for medical office, retail, restaurant, all those things which are not permitted under the R4 multifamily. So R4 multifamily is high-density residential with some of those supplementary land uses to support that residential development. And then MD Medical is primarily medical uses, but it also allows other commercial activities like the retail, the restaurant, other businesses that might support a medical district. And medical also allows multifamily. So they would be able to retain the existing multifamily units on the property with a medical zoning district.
And that, they overlap, so there's some uses that are the same in each. Like I saw, like a daycare up to a certain size is allowed in each.
A daycare is considered one of those supplementary uses that can support a residential development by providing a service to that neighborhood, but it also can support a medical district by providing services to those employment institutions. So there's a little overlap, you're correct.
Yeah.
Oh, and I'll step away so we can allow for more public comments.
Yes. And the public, anybody who wants to come can first come, first served.
Hi, I'm Georgia Taylor.
Hi, Ms. Taylor.
You made some comments about you talked to some people in the neighborhood and got their opinion. Could you elaborate on that for me, please?
Yes, hi. So we spoke to Mr. Brad Mall, who's an adjacent property owner, and he had specific concerns with any kind of adverse impact on his property values that could result as a approval of the zone change request. He also had concerns about the historical overlay district that's located just south of Houston Street and how the character of this development might impact that. And in general, because the subject property backs up to property that's zoned R4 and not zoned single-family, there's some protections that would normally be put in place next to single-family, but like commercial screening, fencing, some additional landscaping. But because the adjacent properties are R4, those wouldn't apply, so that was another concern. We also heard from another property owner with just general concerns about the intensity and just increasing the intensity in the general area. So those were some of the concerns that we heard from.
Talked about two of them.
Yes, ma'am, and they did share actually boundaries with the subject property, and so they would be immediately impacted. So yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Now, I'll say this is, before we close the open meeting here, since there is going to be a reapplication, if there are specific concerns that you want to share publicly, not directly with the applicant, or if you want to share it with us before we make a decision, if this is back on the agenda next month, this would be the time to raise those, so we can make sure they're incorporated. Yes, sir.
I'm David Miller, Robin Miller's husband. The main reason for changing our plans was to accommodate the community and the neighbors, and we care about our neighbors. And we would love input on what y'all want. We would love to work with y'all. We're not doing this to be unneighborly. We don't want a convenience store there either. So whatever you have to say, please let us know. And thank y'all very much for helping us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, I'm Adam Freeland. I'm at Fairchild Law Firm. I am on today, so.
We try to keep attorneys out of here, but we'll let you.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, first of all, welcome
Thank you.
to the fire. I really appreciate everybody coming today, good and bad. You know, I mean,
None of it's bad.
no, it's not bad because it's community engagement. And I'm here. My name's Brad Mall. I'm here to oppose this rezoning from R4 to multifamily to residential to medical. You know, it's weird because it's been withdrawn, but it's just going to be represented in a different kind of way. So I got a feeling of deja vu that we may have to make this speech again. The odd thing is, this morning, I was Julie and I were actually just sitting around, and I said, let's go up there and see if we can see what they're planning today to get a staff report. And so about 10:30, we went up, and I asked for a staff report, and it turns out that I had already lost the zoning. It says, staff recommendation, based on the above findings, staff recommends approval of a change of zoning for the subject property from R4 multifamily to medical. So coming before you today was a pointless exercise because it was already decided. And that freaked me out just a little bit. And I hope you all heard that. And what really brought me, I've thought long and hard about this talk. And I wrote several different speeches in all kinds of ways. I tried to speak from the heart. But then on July 9th, 3 days ago, Helena, who's a very nice person, she is not a bad person. She has a job as Nacogdoches City Planner. And she was on KTRE on the news. And she said, the applicant is requesting to change the zoning designation of the property from multifamily to medical, which would allow for medical uses such as offices, medical, and professional related, and then some supportive services too. So limited retail, food services, things like that. Like the preacher says, let me unpack that for you. Allow for medical uses such as offices, medical, and professional related. The city of Nacogdoches zoning laws, when it goes to medical, allows a health club, recreation facility, emergency ambulance service, hospice, acute care hospital, chronic care hospital, medical office, dental office, psychiatric office, veterinarian office, laboratory, medical and dental, laboratory scientific testing. You can't do that in R4, but you can do that with medical. Words are powerful. Words from city leaders change people's lives. And then she goes on, and then some supportive services too. Well, what would be supportive services? The city of Nacogdoches zoning laws for medical, not residential, not multifamily, but medical, allow this: a hotel, a motel, a health club, recreation facility, daycare center, drugstore, pharmacy, parking garage. And continuing on in the same sentence, the city planner says, so limited retail, food services, things like that. The city of Nacogdoches zoning laws for medical allow this: bank with drive-in facilities, beauty parlor, laundry, dry cleaning, restaurant, bakery, clothing store, flower shop, sorry, Jack, convenience store with gasoline. Words are powerful. Words of city leaders change people's lives. And once again, in this same interview 3 days ago, she said some of the concerns that we've had is the change and how they might impact historical districts. So really, it's the impact on some of these adjacent single-family homes and the potential impact on those because of the change from residential to more commercial use. The change from residential to more commercial use. Words are powerful. Words from city leaders change people's lives. It goes on. The owner of the hearing center says, we don't have any plans to build any more buildings. If we were to, we'd have to go through the city council and get permission to do that, and it would be going through the same process again. Even to remodel those, we must go through city council. That is not true. Once you change the zoning from residential to medical, the city council no longer decides those issues. The city planner decides that because it's now legal under medical zoning. Now, I can just imagine where they would say, well, I don't like it. but it's the law. And I have to enforce the law. Zoning laws are not about people. Zoning laws are about land and how it's used. And if you take a little bit here and a little bit there, someday someone that we probably don't even know, maybe he's not even born yet, is going to have the legal standing to change this neighborhood forever. And when I bought my house on Mound Street, it was a dream for me. I believed in my dream so much that I signed a 30-year mortgage. Think about it. I'm going to be 97 when I pay off this house. I didn't move here by accident. I didn't come here looking for trouble. I came here trusting the laws of zoning in my neighborhood. I knew exactly what I was getting, warts and all. All I wanted to do was spend my life in my very special, wonderful neighborhood. Among the premier mound centers in the Natchez Angelina River Basin, in the Washington Square site, in the middle of what is today Nacogdoches, Texas, it dates mainly to the Middle Caddo period, 1200 to 1400 AD. Mound Street, not Medical Street, Mound Street, from King to Maine for over 600 years, lined with sacred graves of an ancient people. Imagine that. Imagine what North Street used to be once upon a time. It's not about me and my little life, but words are powerful. Words from city leaders change people's lives, and you have the power to change people's lives. So I'll close. Don't mess with Texas. Don't mess with Nacogdoches. And like I tell my film students at SFA where I teach, when they go to film in a building, I say, leave the place better than you found it. And that's my story. Thank you.
I'm Hetty Legg. I'm a speech pathologist, and I'm the owner of the business that we're concerned with and the property. I am not the sole owner. We are an incorporated business, and I have partners, one of whom, Robin Miller, is here with me. She is not my office manager. She is my business manager. My office manager wanted to comment back to you, since we all make mistakes in words from time to time. I should have said city planner instead of city council. I didn't look it up. Didn't think it was that important, but I guess it is. But she is my office manager wanted to post that she never met you, and she hasn't. But part of this could have been avoided today by Mr. Mall contacting me and talking with me and us sitting down and working out what his issues were and what my issues were. I'm sorry for crushing your dreams, but your dreams can be revitalized with some changes, with some education. We did not do this before today because it was not brought to our attention that we could request a change in zoning to a planned development, a PDD, and to restrict the way that it would be used in the future. Our other choices at this time are to keep it multifamily with all of the things that means. And if I were next door neighbor to this property, I would rather it not be zoned so that somebody could come in and put up a multi-story apartment building. I had much rather have a quiet medical center in which people leave it in the afternoon. But different strokes for different folks. In the discussion of it, what our plans are may be different from what somebody else's plans would be in the future. But at this point in time, we have no desire to get rid of the property whatsoever. We are in need of additional floor space, additional therapy space. And our plan was to expand the building that we have before COVID. And we had the plans drawn, we had bids done, we had contractor lined up, we had everything going. COVID hit, changed everybody's lives, crushed some of my dreams. And when COVID was over with, as most of you are probably very well aware, the price of building skyrocketed, the lending rates have gone up, and it just simply became prohibitive we're a very marginal profit business. We're not in it for a business, we're in it to do therapy. We're in it like doctors are to help people. We're in it like most of the population really is, most of the professional population really is to be of a service to someone. That's why we're there. At this moment, it's prohibited for us to add onto the building that we have. And we looked at other possibilities. It is exceedingly cheaper for us. I know that's not one of the public's concerns, but therefore we can provide, what we'd rather do is to put our resources into using the smaller building that already exists and to beautifying the property and to making the property as it should be, to put up trees, to, one neighbor even considered, ask us, could you put in a bench? Yeah, we could probably afford to put in a bench. You know, we want to make it prettier. We want to make it more, I know what the concerns of the people are, and as I understand it from Elena, that we can address a lot of those concerns by making it a PDD. And if I'm off base, I hope somebody will correct me. But like I said, we have no plans to build on the property unless we're, you know, well, we just have no plans in that direction. I think this is a good solution for all of us. I think that we can address the concerns of the neighborhood. The fact of the matter is, when we bought the building, it was a daycare. It had been a daycare. It had not been in use for 2 years. People have suggested I go buy one of the empty buildings in town. Well, they're warehouses, most of them, and they're, first of all, huge, and second of all, very expensive. We did take an empty building, and we did fill it up. And gladly, we've been blessed where we're overflowing and would like to expand in some way. This is a solution that I think could possibly work out for all people concerned. We're not bad people. Brad, we're good people. Don't call us bad people. Please don't call my office staff bad. They're there to serve. They're not there to make the waves in the neighborhood. We chose that neighborhood years ago. We were on Ochiltree for a while, loved being in the area. One more thing I'd like to address is that medical allows which is not anything I'm interested in, for food services. The hospital offers a cafeteria, which anyone can walk into and eat. Florist services. I love flowers. I'm allergic to a lot of them, but I love flowers. And you can buy flowers, and there's a flower shop in most hospitals. There's a place to buy stuffed animals and take them up to the person who's sick, and balloons and things like that. So there's a reason for those things being included in medical. We don't have any use for them. If they're of concern to other people, we can say, well, let's take out gas stations. Yes, the hospital, by the way, can open up a gas station if it wants to on its property, but we have no use for those things. Are there any questions that the city council has of us, planning committee?
Can you explain what your primary therapy that you do? Is it for children mainly, or all children?
It is not only children. We have an all-age therapy center.
Okay.
A lot of our population is pediatric at this time. That's just where the need has been. I think the hospitals address some of the other issues with their outpatient clinics. And that's fine. We have at least four therapists who will work with all ages and who do work with all ages. We have some things that we specialize in, voice patients and Parkinson's particularly, that no one else in the area is trained that I know of to work with them with the particular techniques that we use. And so we still get a lot of those patients. But yes, we are primarily pediatric. We started as a speech therapy only, speech pathology only clinic to do speech therapy for anyone who needed it that came in. We get many referrals from doctors, we get many referrals from daycares, we get many referrals from many, many people. The need for services has grown to where they're estimating that every family in the United States either has or has in the past needed speech therapy services. We have recently added occupational therapy and physical therapy. When we can hold on to a physical therapist, we'll offer that more frequently. But we need those pediatric services, and we need the services that are provided. Our community needs them. We don't want to step on anybody's toes. We apparently have. I'm sorry, we didn't mean to slow down.
I just had one follow-up to that. And you don't have to commit yourself to anything, because I know you just decided to do this plan development today. And you have the ability to put whatever you want in your application, but in general, what was your vision for the final project? How did you want it to look as far as?
The final project would be actually taking the small building that is on 813 and converting it to attractive therapy offices, probably mostly physical therapy and occupational therapy, because since the apartments are so large that there's space for a gym area, whereas building a gym is very expensive. This would be manageable with therapy offices throughout the building. The building would no longer be used for rental, for low-income housing is what it's been when we got it. And beautifying that, connecting the two with a covered but not closed, not entirely enclosed walkway, kind of like what they have at the Pemberton House. And probably gating off, I don't know if we need permission to do this, but gating off the area that's between kind of the two, and using that as a grassy area or a playground area, or not to use as a playground, but so our occupational therapists and physical therapists can take the kids out there to ride tricycles, to play on, to swing, because swinging is very important in all of the therapy that we do. We have an awful lot of kids who have sensory issues, and swinging is one of the very important things that we do. But we, and that is the extent of it at this point in time. That's it.
It's like, how long have you been in business here?
Over 35 years.
And how long have you been at that location specifically?
10 years, Robin? Yep, right at 10 years,
Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
And when we moved there, it was, like I said, it had been a daycare and it was empty. We had to get it rezoned medical. We had one person who opposed that, and that was the person who owned the property next door, which we now own. So, okay, further
I have
questions?
one more question. In terms of beautifying the property, and how old is that building right now? When was it built? The empty daycare that you have converted into
Oh, that?
speech? Yes.
Oh,
Okay.
84?
So in terms of beautifying it and making it more, I assume that you wanted to put landscaping and shrubs and trees and the benches that you spoke about. But also, are you updating the facade of that building, or are you just adding on an addition that you wanted to, for that rezoning purpose?
You mean on 813?
Yes,
The one
the
we're
current
talking
one,
about?
yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we are going to do all of that, of the above.
Okay, that's my question. Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you.
We certainly appreciate the city. We appreciate you working with us. We appreciate Elena and her suggestions. We don't want to have any ill feelings in the neighborhood. we're pretty peaceful people. It gets extremely quiet when we lock the doors at 6:30 at night. But the question that was asked when we moved from Ochiltree to this location was the traffic problem. And we addressed that by saying we'll be taking the traffic problem of the small property on Ochiltree and spreading it out. And now we have the large parking lot, which is not attractive, but we've been having a lot of plumbing work done to upgrade that. So, and we will continue to move ahead with some of those things.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Anything
you.
else? Does anybody, well, thank you.
Yeah.
And I don't know if we had any supporters here. I called them off mostly this afternoon. When we called them off. Yes. Well, you didn't call your people off yet. But we have addressed or plan to address the issues that have been posted online. I wish that it had been started more, Ms. Mall and myself sitting down together.
I talked to Robin Miller for a year and a half on this. We went over 3 different times, and I was just told she was the business manager. I never met you. We went over there, but you
Well,
never
you
came
did
out.
meet me
And
one
you
time,
gave-
but I'm pretty
I didn't know
forgetful.
you. But you did put your number on my house
Yes.
on July 8th, a little late.
Well, that was when we found out there was no issue.
Oh.
Quite
We
seriously,
do-
that was the first we knew about it.
Sure, Mike.
Had you?
No. Oh, there it is. Okay.
We've been done.
Somebody turned me off. We do have to make sure all the comments are addressed to the commission,
I'm sorry.
but we'll have plenty of time afterwards to get coffee or something. I think, if anybody wants to do that. Yeah. Yeah. No, thank you very much. And I do think, though, that what you all were talking about, something I wanted to respond to, and I think maybe somebody else up here might want to respond to. Hopefully, it's not just me. But I was on Facebook this weekend, which I don't really go on very often. But now I found I have to do that, or I get blindsided when I come into these meetings. Because there's just not a lot of other forums, I guess, for people to share things. Maybe Nextdoor, I don't know. So I noticed that there was a lot of misinformation, maybe confusion about the zoning process. And I heard some of that, and I really appreciate your comments, Mr. Mall, but I did hear some maybe confusion about the process, because, you know, we always get a staff recommendation. The way things work, there's an application's made by a member of the community. We don't originate those. Anyone can file. It goes through a staff process. They work with the applicant to make sure that it meets requirements. And then staff always makes a recommendation. Sometimes it's no, sometimes it's yes. A couple weeks ago, in fact, she may have been upset because Elena recommended no on a sign variance, and we all said yes. Well, not everybody was here then, but I said yes. Other times, we do agree. It's just a recommendation. We retain our agency and our independence up here. So even though it says approve, that just means that the application meets the legal requirements in the opinion of the city planner. And so then she's just doing her job when she has to make a recommendation. Just so there's no confusion on that. And one thing I think might be helpful is I guarantee you probably no one will show up unless we put something very controversial on the agenda, but we should have maybe a zoning 101 class, and we won't do it in the summer because I've heard that that's a very nefarious time to have a meeting, so we'll do it in the fall or the winter. And that's another thing. I've heard that comment a lot as well. You know, we take things when they come in. The city doesn't decide when things go on an agenda. And in fact, we have to get things on an agenda depending on when the applications are made. It's only right to the property owners. If, you know, anybody was making an application, we need to be responsive to those things. So, you know, we are merely going through what I would call a very formulaic and legal process to make sure that an application meets a certain set of requirements. we make a recommendation to city council. City council then approves or says that we're out to lunch and disagrees with us. And that's where the zoning changes happen. Now, as far as the medical district goes, we haven't had a medical district rezone here in a long time, so that was the first time I'd read through those, that section of the zoning ordinances. And if anyone wants to, they're online. It's a thrilling read. They are very, it's interesting what you learn, though, about what's allowed in different zoning districts. And I think one of the reasons that medical allows for some of these ancillary services is probably because if you're in Houston or Dallas or Austin or San Antonio, you know, there's these medical kind of cities, and it makes sense. You might have to drive 10 miles to get gas if you don't have a gas station next to the hospital. But clearly does not make sense in the middle of Nacogdoches, but we probably lifted that overarching zoning matrix from someone else and just plopped it in. So maybe there's some work that needs to be done on our zoning ordinances, and I'll punt that issue to the city council. But it was surprising to me to see some of those things, and I think it's a good thing that we do have the option to do a planned development district and specifically tailor the zoning so that we can get rid of some of the things we don't want to come in the future on those lots. But if anybody'd be interested in doing some more informative zoning meeting later on in the fall, I'd be happy for us to do that. We could add it to an agenda.
I think with the last agenda item that we have slated, you can actually
We can make a
request future
motion.
agenda items, and we can include education workshops and things of that nature. So absolutely, when we get to that item, we can have further discussion on that.
Sure. And I'm done talking, so
Yeah,
you
so,
shouldn't have made me chair, sorry.
I think Ken addressed what I wanted to actually say as well. This is a community forum so that you guys can get together and talk and let us know what you need from the community, and we're listening. You know, before I came in, I was adequately prepared, and Brad, addressing your concern about what Elena's recommendations are. Ken did say it is based upon criteria of legal recommendations, and then we, as a team, decide, hey, are we gonna say yes or no to the public and what you guys have to say? So we're here to be fair. And the other thing is, we're not taking this lightly. I mean, we want you to know, I was printing out floodplain maps, and I, like Ken, am not a Facebook person at all. I don't like social media, and unfortunately, this job is forcing me to get up there to listen to what everybody has to say, and that's okay. I take that duty responsibly, and I want you guys to know that. But I also know that Ms. Legg is a business owner here, and she has been here for a while, and she is telling you guys sometimes an R4 may not be the best thing for the community if there is a high-rise that's built, because it will be allowed and permitted on that, unless you have something like a medical zone right here with special use, basically for her speech therapy business, which I highly, support, because we do need services like that around our community. And I will say, if I was in a neighborhood seeing kids playing outside, I'd probably want to see that more so than a high-rise condominium. But that is just my personal opinion about how things should be for a historic zone. And that is up for you guys to actually speak to each other about, and for you to come up and address it with us like you have been, and we thank you for that.
So just keep it R4.
Yeah, sure. It's still open meeting. Just because we have microphones doesn't mean we get to talk the whole time.
I live in the neighborhood, and
Oh, I'm sorry, what was your name?
Julie Layton. The way I heard Ms. Legg say is that at this time, we have no plans at this time. And what's to stop her in the future from doing whatever or selling it to someone who wants to do whatever under the medical zoning? I'm assuming the medical zoning would stay in place if she sold it or whatever. That, I'm assuming that's true. I don't know. I feel it's condescending to say she's squashing Brad's dream. We've canvassed a lot of our neighbors, and we all have dreams, and a lot of our neighbors have their forever dream homes there, and we respect that. And he's a highly ethical person, and I don't want anyone to think it's all about Brad Mall. It's a whole neighborhood there. We've talked to a lot of people in our neighborhood. That's about it.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
Ken,
Yeah, go ahead.
she can come on if she like. She can come if you can come on.
Ladies first.
Hi, my name is Griselda Monreal. I live on 407 Houston, which divides my property from the property in question. Just right, my backyard is right there. And I just want to state that I've been married for 33 years. 25 of those years I rented. Okay? We just bought this house where I am now 3 months ago. We've been there for 8 years. So that's my dream home. We're trying to remodel, make it my grandchildren's dream home too, because it's going to be theirs. I personally do not want anything to come and be there. And probably right now they're talking about it, making it beautiful for children. I have 7 grandchildren. That's beautiful. But yes, tomorrow, give it 5 more years, somebody else comes in and wants to put something there that may hurt my dream home, may hurt my children. I may not be here tomorrow, but my grandchildren will, and their children. And it only divides is a fence. And part of that is what I've been hearing. They don't have to put a fence there. So what's going to divide my property from there? Anybody coming through? 25 years it took me renting, losing all that money to be able to get that home and saying, wow, I did what a lot of people have not been able to do in 8 years. I bought my own home, my husband and I. For this to come up 3 months after I paid that, and then get that in the mail, and me not know what really it was until somebody came up to me and told me what it really was. And now hearing all of this, I'm like, wow, I thought I made the perfect choice of where I was going to plant my roots and for my future. And then this coming up. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If I may make some general comments.
Sure. You still count as a member of the public, I think.
Thank you. Barely.
Barely.
Yes. Adam Freeland. I've been hearing a lot from the council members and from the public about this issue. And I just want to address the legal elephant in the room, the repetitious by evading review issue. That is going to be a issue that a state is faced with the decision, or a governing body is faced with a decision, and one of the parties withdraws and says it's moot, I've withdrawn. However, it's capable of repetition because it's evaded review at the focal point of the decision, which is today. And so the constitutional issue is this committee, this zoning committee is empowered to rule on the ultimate zoning issue today because of this legal issue of repetitious by evading review. And so the withdrawal fits within that legal scenario that we're currently experiencing today. They've withdrawn their application, but will press it in the future. That is the constitutional definition of a repetitious by evading review. As to the committee's comments to Mr. Mall, the committee noted that Mr. Mall had several made some comments about not receiving notice or not receiving a, having before him a paper that said, we've made the decision before you could even come and voice your opinion. Now, while the committee has gone through these proceedings, the committee first decides it's a recommendation. It goes to the city council. That's understood. I think what Mr. Mall was articulating was that the review criteria seemed wholly deficient for somebody to ever make the decision in the first place, let alone a staffer recommend to the committee that the application go forward. For instance, compatibility. The proposed medical zoning district is consistent with the existing development in the area. How so?
Isn't there medical zoning right across the street?
The only medical that would justify
King Street.
the only medical in the area is that corner lot. That
I mean, I
whole
didn't want to get into that, but I think it is.
that whole area is R4, my understanding. So C Brown?
It's all medical.
Sure, but that's the buffer zone is the R4, correct? And consistent with the economic development plan, we are to have buffer zones between highly commercial areas and residential. If you start eating away at this buffer zone, you're gonna have to create a new buffer zone. And where are you gonna get the land for the new buffer zone? You're gonna have to dig into R2 and R1. That's the problem I believe Mr. Mull is articulating, is that we're eating away at what is supposed to be a buffer zone. Whether it's R4 or medical, whether we have it high rise or not, that is the economic development plan that this city has promulgated. And we have to make decisions consistent with that plan.
By the way, we're in the process of doing a new one, so we need input from the public on that. So, just sorry, not to interrupt. Just want to make sure everybody knows that.
Absolutely important. And just going through the other factors that the staffer made its decision, his or her decision, it's just not very developed. There's very little to go on why the staffer made the decision that they made. I see a lot of will comply with in the future, or will intend to comply with all future driveways and parking areas will meet the city's current land development design. But there's nothing to show that they have been met, or that or submitting any proposed plan showing that this is the plan and this is how it complies. And so that's the issues just I wanted to bring up. And so I appreciate your time. Thank you, and I'll.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I go here with my statement now.
Sure.
We have ran into difficult situations like this before, and what we've done is work with the community as well as the businesses. And instead of changing the zone on several occasions, we have permitted a special use permit. And I don't know if this requires that or is permissible. It's not permissible, but that's how we saw this before, with a special use permit that will permit the business owner to do what need to be done to operate business, at the same time prevent from having a change in the community. Now, that have worked before, and I know she said it don't qualify for that.
That's essentially the same process as the planned development district. So when you don't have an option for a specific use permit, that planned development district acts as that specific use permit to limit the activities to just what's being requested by the applicant.
So planned development will be adequate to special use permit. And the special use permit will probably be the solution to this area. That's my suggestion. I'm not making a decision. I'm just saying that we could go on with this for 10 more meetings with the same problem.
Would
But
you still change the medical?
I'm saying, what is this district zone now? You would leave, we've left the zone the same, and give them a special use permit.
So the applicant has withdrawn their application, and so with a planned development district, it's essentially a customized zoning district where the applicant can make a request for medical office and then restrict the uses to only medical office, and then they would choose a base zoning district to establish building setbacks and things of that nature. But the land uses would be very specifically outlined in the request, and as part of the approval, that's what they can do and nothing else.
That's all they can do.
Just like a zone change. So if they wanted to come back in the future, do something different, they would have to come through the same process all over again, submit a new application, notify all the property owners in the area, conduct a public hearing and allow for public input, and then go to city council for final approval. So it's very restrictive, it's very limited, and it's designed to allow property owners to enjoy their property while also protecting the property rights of the people in the neighborhood. So very similar to the specific use permit.
So, just to be clear.
Yes.
You're saying they can, if we had a planned development district application in front of us, we could specifically tailor it to only medical use, even the type of medical use of the building? And then we could restrict any of these ancillary uses, which are concerns, convenience stores, gas stations, dry cleaner, what else was there, gym, those types of things?
Right.
You could restrict
Yeah.
those.
Question, Mr. So, Lane, it's transfer of property, so transfer of deed, the new owner would be held to those same restrictions, correct?
Yes, the PD would run with the property for the life of the property, regardless of property ownership, just like a zone change.
And I hear Mr. Freeland's concern about trying to evade review on a withdrawal. But in my opinion, I think we're going to have an entire opportunity if the applicants decide to reapply. There's no requirement. If you don't, I'll have a lot less work to do next month. But that's your prerogative. And we will have another hearing, we'll have another opportunity, and it'll be a brand-new set of facts in front of us. So I don't see an issue with that as a reapplication.
And we would resend written notices to all those property owners within 200 feet. We would resend the postcards. We would redo everything would be like a brand-new application as if none of this happened as far as our process for notifying the public about that meeting and the request.
Thank you, Lena.
And I guess that means we could, even if we tried to rule today on converting to medical, it doesn't prevent them from coming back with a planned development request. Is that correct?
Correct. Microphone, sorry.
Yeah, they're glitchy today. Any other comments from anyone? Sure.
My name is Ann Keenan. I want to thank you guys for offering to teach us more about zoning and also for bringing up the fact that we are doing a comprehensive plan for the city. And I appreciate so many people in the community getting involved and caring and coming forward to this. I know some cities have not just a plan for their city, but each neighborhood has a comprehensive plan for what they want for their neighborhood. Do we want, quiet? Do we want nice sidewalks? Do we need bike trails? What do we want in all our neighborhood? I know in the hospital neighborhood, there's a number of other houses and lots that are empty that anything could happen to. And maybe rather than wait till somebody applies for a zoning change or till something happens, we could get together as a neighborhood, because I'm kind of in that neighborhood, and decide what we want and look at things and, maybe we can help these people turn this into something nice, or maybe if they ever sell that, this is what should happen to it as a big plan. So that's just a suggestion kind of for everybody to look at the big picture and take advantage of this situation to kind of step forward and use the information that you're going to give us on zoning and what it all means, and so we can make decisions ahead of time instead of always instead of making a reactive decision. We can just plan as a community working all together for the same thing that we all want. So that's all I had to say. I did want to say I had a similar experience on the corner of my street. A sign went up for 4 big, tall, I thought horribly ugly townhomes, and I was very upset. There's nothing I could do, but I sat down with the developer and some neighbors over a cup of coffee, and we had a nice talk, and turned out they weren't going to be as tall as I thought, and he was open to making some little design changes that I thought would make it look nice, and came around to support that. Because he said the other thing you could put in there was doctor's offices, which would have been worse. So, I learned to look at these things as, well, what do I want instead of that? And how can we make it look like we want? So anyway, thank you.
Could you state your name again? We couldn't all hear. Ann.
Ann Keenan.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Keenan.
All right, thank you.
Right. Well, any other comments before we close the public hearing? Any comments from anyone?
I was gonna say, this is my first meeting and sitting up here, so I look around the room and I know many of you raised here in Nacogdoches. I love this community. I love the passion in here. It's very important that we come together and do these things. I'm not sure about sitting up here like this. I've served in various capacities through the years, and I've always believed in looking up to the people I serve, not down. But thank you very much for coming in here, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of this. Don't take it lightly, what Lily said. It's very, very important to me personally and to this board, I know. So thank you all. That's all, Mr. Chair.
You got applause. I don't think that's ever happened at your It's the first time. Okay, so we're going to close the public hearing on C, and then I will entertain a motion to approve or deny the withdrawal of the zone change.
I make a motion that we accept their withdrawal of their application.
One second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed? Same sign? All right, passes. Moving on to number 7, discussion and possible action on future agenda items. A planning and zoning member may inquire about a subject for which notice has not been given. A statement of specific factual information or the recitation of existing policy may be given, and any deliberation should be limited to a proposal to place the subject on an agenda for a subsequent meeting. So I would like to, since I got out of order earlier, request that we put a special session to do some kind of zoning 101 or whatever you want to call it. We can come up with a better name maybe, in September or October. I think those would be good months.
I think that's a really good idea. I've talked to several people who have no clue what the zoning commission does. I had a lady tell me today it had to do with shrubbery. Shrubbery? Okay.
It does a little bit.
That's the other committee.
I don't think that's our
Yes, the Planning and Zoning Commission does have a myriad of responsibilities. One of those is we amended the zoning ordinance last year to allow the commission to approve waivers to certain fence types if there's substantial tree preservation. In lieu of that, to protect our natural resources and to provide a better buffer than what could be provided with just a simple standalone fence. So I think there is some confusion about what do you approve, what do you make recommendations on? And so we have been having some internal discussions about having a education series with the Planning and Zoning Commission, maybe every other month, bringing a topic to the commission for discussion. And then if there's topics that you're interested in, we invite you to let us know so we can bring those forward as well.
What would help if the people throughout the city would be informed. I know the information is available on the website, but they could learn which zone their residence or their housing is in. And that would help a lot. They would already know what zone they're living in.
Yes.
What the zoning is that they're in.
We do have an online interactive map where you can search by address, and it'll identify the zoning district that the property is located in. It'll identify the future land use. You can see water, utility, sewer, and there's a lot of public information out there on the website. And we try to make that as accessible as possible. We are working on making some changes to make our information more accessible and easier to find. And it is a work in process, and we invite any recommendations or suggestions from the commission or the community about how we can make our information more easily accessible to just the general public. So.
And
Thank
Elena,
you.
if the public wants to actually comment or question, where would they send that to?
Yes, so they can send it to chafina@nactx.us. Juan Paulette, our planning technician, is also a good resource. Our direct phone numbers and email is on the Planning and Zoning Commission website. Along with our pictures, you can see what we look like, our phone number, our email. If you see us in the street, that's the city planner. And we always invite walk-ins. People are more than welcome. We're on the second floor, and I think it's room 239? 239. So we welcome walk-ins, emails, and we do our best to get back to people as quickly as possible. So.
I had a question about a year ago and contacted you, and you left a message, and you called me back within about 10 minutes and spent about 20 minutes on the phone with me. You don't remember probably, but thank you very much.
You're welcome. Well, I was emailing you the other day, and it populated. I'm like, oh, I've emailed Mr. Coughlin before. So, yeah. All right.
Anything else anybody want to do or add to a future agenda? And I will say, just encourage everyone to get involved with the comprehensive plan sessions. My main concern has been that as the interstate moves in west of town, that we retain the character of the center of town. And so we got to do that. There, yeah.
There you go.
I baited them for it, though. So we do need the public involved.
I think we all agree on that.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? No? Ready to adjourn? And we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your attendance.